What's one favorite thing you learned this week? Really interesting? Well, give me one. Ah, so, model has many, model. That's cool. So what you learned this week is, for example, here section can, have many food item, right? So that's cool. Ian, anything cool, favorite you learned this week? Give me something else. You guys are super lucky. The first person to go is easier. Data. Huh? Oh, seeding database. Yeah. Seeding database. It's nice because you can give this code to someone else. They can run Rails DB, create DB, migrate DB, seed. Or when you feel like your application data is a bit messy, you can delete everything and then seed it again. It happens. Ian. Huh? The database itself. So what is in the database that is interesting to you? Tables, columns, relationship here in database is called foreign keys. The section underscore ID is a foreign key. It's a key to connect the food items table to the sections table. Right? We will get more into that if you have questions. So I can only mention that too. It looks like Fu is giving Ian a massage, but yeah. What's your favorite thing you learned this week?
Actually, here,
Yeah. Okay. Make your app more believable with Faker and Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is styled, so it looks more like a button. It looks more like a card. It's a grid. It looks responsive when the browser is small versus large, different layout. Use Faker, so it looks like you can use a username. You can use an image URL or avatar. Yeah, it's good. Louis.
the way how Rails manage the database without you going into the database. I mean, you can always.
Yeah. So Active Records power.
Yeah.
And the power of Active Record here is a very nice API. It's called API. Anything that you can call the function to do things is an API, application programming interface. With JavaScript, remember API is like get document by ID, that kind of thing. So Active Records power here is .first, .last, .call, right? .count. Food item .count give you a number of food items. Even section .food items .count give you the number of food items for that section. And migration. Migration is taken care of by Active Record, and it helps you go to the next state. Oh, I need to add one more table. You can even go back in time and say go back to the previous migration, so it will throw away the new table on the new column that you added. Yeah, Active Record is nice. A lot of magic. Some people don't like too much magic. So, yeah, Oscar.
Most has been said. So for me, it was CDB and in combination with Baker. But also yesterday we didn't get too much into it. But the session ID.
Yeah.
Like that's how simple that was.
To keep, to remember,
Because the concepts, yeah.
things for a user, right?
Yeah, the concept doesn't sound simple, but Rails really seems to make it. It was just a couple lines of code, and it just takes care of itself.
Yeah, it's easy. Yeah, simple to remember things for a visitor, or more than that, really. But otherwise, it's actually pretty tricky. Like, oh, what is the browser fingerprint? This is a session used to. This is an extension of cookie. So the browser cookie can store data about your visit, and in a session, if you extend it, and you can store more than that on the server side. They kind of work together. Now, there are many ways to implement sessions. It's just only rely on cookie, or store it to a file, or store it to a database. We will get to that in the future week to understand the deeper layer. With Rails, every week we will be building an app. So you will go through very similar favorite things. Sometimes you skip them, sometimes you go in more depth. Sessions, one of those, you go in depth. Active record is another one you go in depth. These guys you probably will stop using too much. Then this one will go more in depth, understanding the foreign keys, right? That's the idea. So that's all, right? Lloyd, do you want to contribute one? Well, you guys are so lazy. I asked for favorite things, so only say favorite things. So let me just contribute some other things. Maybe not your favorite things is, for example, Rails View Helper. And from basic things like link to, pluralize, image tag. What else can you think of? Huh? Yeah, you can use a render to render a partial too. That's still a view helper. Anything else? Exactly. So form for merit its own like big thing. It's quite nice for generating a form nice, and in there then you do something like f.text field. In fact, you can do anything that is number field. Phone number field is ridiculous. It supports everything, but it's just mapping to HTML type, input type. Okay, hidden field. So anything that is something field, you actually imagine that it print out the input space type equals hidden or text, and then have a value. So form, and not just form. When you submit a form, Rails the convention of routes, so that you have the 7 action in your RESTful routes. The 7 actions, and you can have the nested RESTful route. We will get into this as well, but the nested RESTful routes, just know that never go to 3 layers, right? Only do 2. As the human brain can only handle that much.
What is RESTful standing for again?
Yeah, fantastic. So we should just paste the link for extra reading. But basically, this help. It's just one of the ways, one of the standards you should use HTTP protocol, and the terminology itself, like this is a bit strange, but the gist is that if you visit certain URL, you tend to expect certain response code, and what kind of data it makes changes to or it gets. So get index, you never make changes to it. You get a 200 status code, and then you get the list of resources. With singular. So it's just one convention where you see that if it's an item/ID, right? It's very clear that it's like a way for the user to do database query for you. So this is like a RESTful format where it just try to use URL and put the ID in here, and Rails stick with it, and Rails put the S in these guys. There are many other ways to pass the params, as you can see. and it's, you know, the most common one is the primary resource. It's the ID, and you put it in the URL. The rest can be the extra params here if it's a GET request, or the body of the request if it's a POST request. And then you hear this word creating, updating. What is it? Creating, updating, create, read, update, destroy. They go together, and you know, REST API, and sort of in this case, REST API provide the interface over the URL. Like it's a convention you can follow. It's a protocol. It's a style, right, that you can follow, not protocol. HTTP is a protocol, but then through you use this REST, so you can do create, read, update, destroy. So read into this, basically, yeah, I think this is a nice way to say it. REST, you know, map HTTP request with the action itself. It's separate. Now, some people build websites, they don't use REST. They will say you go to the same URL, but you pass in the different params, it does different things. Or you use a web service that is like, oh, this XML, that is this way, that way. Or you specify, I go to this URL, and if it wants to make changes, it should visit another service, another URL somewhere else. So there's non-REST, for example, service-oriented architecture, right? And these are more like, you know, enterprise-like, not just one service. It's like that too, but service-oriented. Yeah, SOA, and then there's just more components. It's one's like, you know, there's different services. You go there, and if I'm to explain this to you, then obviously I should spend an hour, read, you know, play with a few things, and I go and read. I just mentioned that there are this other architecture that's out there, and REST is the simpler and popular one, and Rails help make REST popular.
So if I hear that like an app or website is using RESTful,
yeah,
then it means that the way they talk to the database is by like using passing parameters in the URLs for like put the requests.
No, it just means that we can understand if we want to visit a resource. A resource here could be a section or a food item or a blog post. If we visit, it tends to be the URL tend to be go something / some ID. If you want to visit the food items inside a section, you tend to go to that ID / food items. And the URL tends to be very clean. They explain what it is. And for Rails, Rails embraces that very well, so that people, even you can pretty much guess the URL. And that's the nice thing to work on the product together. So Rails really help, you know, all of these things existed, right, before, but Rails just follow REST, and even Rails 1, it was not REST. And then Rails 2, then there's I'm gonna just go everything with that resources, something, RESTful routes, and then people, the change is that people stop, this is what happened after Rails say, yeah, Rails 2 say, if you define routes in a controller, you do this, then you have 7 actions in your controller. And from then on, people stop putting all the actions in one controller. You don't want to put more action into this sections controller. It becomes too much. And you want to separate responsibility to different things. And if, you know, for example, you have your photos. Initially, it may feel like, okay, if I like a photo, I go to the photos controller, like action. But as your code get complicated, you actually just you then move into something else like photos controllers. And then in there's like one, you can go deep into that. And then your routes may be more like like photos, and then basically this is a way to just sort of extract things out and keep your controllers simple with standard responsibility. Technically, the largest responsibility is just the 7 actions there, which correspond to CRUD. Why 7? Creating a new one takes 2 action. Updating takes 2 action. Deleting takes 2 action. Read only takes 1 option action. Yeah. So that's routes. Nested is nice just mainly for things like, you know, if you do a comment on a blog post. Imagine this is your post. You can view the list of comment. That's, you know, viewing the comment. But if you want to create a comment for a post, then you send a post to it. You normally don't. If you view a comment, this is less likely. You don't need this. Sometimes you don't need this. We're like, why is it so redundant? You tend to just use the outside resource. And as you can see now, let's say if a comment has a few votes on top of the comment, like you definitely don't want to go 3 layers, you know. That is getting crazy. You want to just go, then go back. Can I just make it simple? Yeah. Keep it like that only. So that's the idea. Keep 2 level. But it's quite nice because then you can do form. I don't think we have tried this, but you pass in an object in form, and that object now you can pass in a post and then a comment, something like that, and then the form will this is, let's say, comment.new. Then this form will submit to this guy. Why? How does it know? It just take the ID of this guy and put it here, and then look at this comment.new. It's a new object, so it will send a post instead of a batch to update the record. So it's quite interesting.
That's how WordPress handles it, right? RESTful as well. That's
It's in general, yeah, you might see it on WordPress and different frameworks. And again, because Rails made it really popular in 2007. Yeah. Okay. I think, well, there may be more. I tend to, let's say, I have some notes from the previous day that I wrote for other teachers. So some concept. Yep, so we used the bootstrap column thing here. We used the extra tools like Lorem Flickr, Lorem Pixel. That's good. I think, and Flash, related to session, actually Flash is one kind of session. So some of you may find that, oh, I like Flash. It's good. So you got that covered. Yep, I think we're ready for a faster code walkthrough. Yesterday here will be, yesterday it's in the lab. This one, okay. All right, so yesterday you guys see some other notes here. I encourage you guys to read this. It's a very nice way to like just see some English statements about some concept I have done, you know, and as you look into them, you're like, okay, what is it? You can highlight what you want to look into. Okay, so ability to write down what you have learned is a powerful one. Cool. So that's anything that's difficulty. Can we talk a little bit about, like, you know, what learning difficulties we have besides the internet? The government censored a few things this week, so it got worse. I shouldn't be saying this online. Go.
Is it like a generate migration?
Ah. Yeah. So, yeah, just like generating, you know, a migration just for a new column, or just makes, you can change the column type or anything. The idea here is you can generate a migration file and it's empty. It just put the file name for you. For migration, you need to do that because it follows the file name convention. So you should use a generate migration thing, but what comes after that is up to you. Whatever name you want, right? Except Rails is pretty smart, so you can actually say migration add, let's say image URL to food items, right? If you write something that Rails see there's a word to here, and then it will see something else here, then when you say image, and let's say if you column string, then it's the same as not saying column. It's like that. Then Rails automatically create a new column, let's say add column image. It's just because it see the word to, and then it take this to be your table. Some of you may feel like, oh, but it looks like a model, so I put it like this, then it's wrong. Huh? It adds to the wrong table. So some people like to write this way, add image URL to food items. Then it's quite clear that you know, it's adding this column. Now this part of the word is not important. You can just see anything. So you could actually say Rails migration. I think the word add is important. So you can use the word remove as well, right? So you say add blah to blah to blah. So this will be your table name, and then this will be your column name. Okay. Try it, and if you don't like it, delete. Yeah. I normally just add something and it's an empty migration. I add something else in there, okay? You have a comment, question? Yeah. Anything difficult about, just anything we can share? Sure, okay, MVC and debugging. So you guys know we have the web console, so when things go wrong, if you can get Rails to stop right there, there's a lot of things you can do with it. Okay, don't forget the Rails log. The log, when you run it, you can go back and see what route it hit and what template Rails render. It may render the wrong file that you think it does, right? Yeah, MVC, there's not much MVC we have to worry really. At this point, you know, go back to my PowerPoint slides. Go from the browser to the router to controller to view. Yeah, so when you have to think, then remember the routes thing. So it tells you where to go. The rest of it, don't think too hard because you want to make mistakes in there. Okay, I put it in here and there. Just don't make your code too complicated. Then it's harder to know what your mistake is. So mistake in creating a migration, fine, I can fix it. Drop the whole database, try again. Mistake in putting the wrong action somewhere, mistake in using the same code, it's okay. But don't make mistake by just making it bigger and bigger and bigger, like the MVC way, then it's tricky. Or don't make the mistake of trying to be perfect. No, you know, I don't want it to be like, let me figure out like the best way to do it. Because if you do that, there's nothing for you to learn from. It'll just take a long time. So the one general advice is just make something work in a simple way. And if it works, then, right? Of course, get to simple. We have to try a few times. But it's more important that it works than that you have to feel like that must be the perfect way to do it. Yeah, when you join a company, you have to think really hard about how to do it, but you get paid by the company to think harder about, oh, I need to brainstorm with someone, I need to propose, this is how it should be done. I have to write the database schema before. But when you're learning in these weeks, sometimes I ask you to do schema first, sometimes I just say, you know, just do it and see where it takes you. Cool. Any other learning difficulties we might run into?
I think right now for me it's getting really comfortable with the architecture of like just Rails, like how the files are set up. So like where to look for something, it takes me a while, and sometimes I'm just like looking through the folders trying to figure out where everything is.
Yeah.
So that's just practice, but then also like with generate, like knowing right away, like, oh, these files were generated there and there. Sometimes, like, it takes a lot of, it still takes a lot of thinking now.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking around
That's
in
good.
different folders and files.
I think this is, you know, you can add time if you really can compatible with that. But with VS Code, you can check everything, see what
Yeah.
files generate. That's really cool. Check everything.
Right.
Yeah.
The gate thing in Atom, I don't know, yeah, it's like, you know, this thing, right? These are the files that are added. So generators, normally it's either the output from a generator, it say whether the file exists or it created, but it can be overwhelming at first. So sometimes you don't look at that. And if you don't look at that after you generate, you can look at this tab, right? That's why Git is so important. Imagine, right? Working with this kind of code base and not having Git, you accidentally overwrite something you don't know. It can be pretty tricky. Rails architecture, then it's a lot of things like where you see app folder, lib folder, config folder, you know, DB folder, vendor folder, and you're like, what the heck? Well, initially, right now, you only care about these two folders. Am I right? And then inside, you're like, okay, well, there's like a ton of folders in here, assets folder, blah, blah, blah. Well, in here, you put the images in JavaScript and CSS. But what you normally worry about is just these things, controllers and views. So you go between these three guys, right? The layout go in here. And then in view here, let's say you go into a controller name, right? So here will be, let's say, your sections controller. Then you have a sections view. So once you start detecting the pattern, then you can go there without thinking, really. Sort of the idea is that obviously right now, if you're like confused about it, this is the right time to be confused about where things are. But think about model view controller, it's all in the app folder, and you switch between them. View is html.erb, controller is _controller.rb, model is just the name of the model, right? Yeah, no, I think that's quite helpful, guys. Just catch up with our stuff so far. Any final words? Yeah, we'll get to that today. Database schema. Yep. So how to plan for, you know, a decent and if anything is say, just try to get more, you know, the lab done during the day, and you know, just get to be very productive if during the day with that lab. And these days, you notice that lab is not as overwhelming. It's like, oh, I put this code here, I go and test. Testing it is more important now than just like writing the code. You want to be able to go to the browser and see that it works. You go to the Rails console and type something and see that it works. And as you test things, you have more questions about things so you can understand. If you don't load the browser, if you don't try A, B, C, D, you just look at the thing, then there's not much to remember.
Well, I don't know why the video now. I feel quite difficult to Google for a solution.
Okay, Google for solution. Now, here's the funny part. Solution, what kind of solution are you Googling for?
For another platform, I check how can I make it slim and it was quite clear. But with the Ruby, usually the answer is too complicated, too different.
Okay. I would, for this, I would counter that Rails is one of the easiest for you to find solution. So, compared to anything else. If you need to say, and the interesting thing too is that if an answer is not like 2017, it's 2015, it still works. It's a change, it's so stable now that it's an open source thing and it's very stable. However, you're free to, you know, to mainly go back to the Rails guides and the Rails API, right? These two get you really far. The things that they have in this index here, you normally you don't go here directly, but if you Google, it will get there, right? Rails guides. Well, obviously, if you Google Rails guides, you get there. How dumb am I? Rails routes. This is the best place for routes, and then something like nested routes. You may run in, you see that nested routes right here, or just say nested form, which could be pretty tricky. The params. We did sort of nested form before. Params item, and inside item you have the object. Or Rails partial. I don't know. Just think about something that you Google. It's more likely to Rails authentication. Integrate with Facebook. Facebook login on all of that. Okay. Sure. So when you run into some of the query that don't seem to get new result, share, and I can recommend the English words that we can swap in and out to have a better result. Yeah. Normally, obviously, for us, we take a few tries. We just search, but you don't really think about it. You just search anyway. You search. I don't see much result. I paraphrase it. Just change it the wording. So Stack Overflow does have the documentation thing here, and I'm pretty sure there's Rails. People write a lot. As you can see, compared to a lot of things like Ruby on Rails, actually does have quite a bit of topic. So where's Rails? Here. And technically, this is a break for those who like to just see it. Also written by people who care about good documentation. The problem with this is that things get out of date. Then it's hard to get the community to continue to update it. It's harder for this to get out of date. Oh my God, they just released 1.3. Right? So I bet it was yesterday. Look what happened when I'm not here. Everything moves faster. August 3rd. Oh man. And then let's see what they add, right? When you get to the level that I am very comfortable reading any code in here, then I'll be like, okay, they release something, and let's see what they release. And normally they write, oh my God, I forgot how to look at the release now. Rails. This is a minor version, so actually it's so useful. They even have this. What you should basically when Rails changes, when you generate a new Rails app, what are the differences that it makes? For example, here's your completely new Rails 5.1.2 app, and here's a new 5.1.3 app. Is there any configuration changes? That we have? Wow, it's all just bug fixes. It's nothing bad. But if you work with someone's code that is 5.0, for example, and then you want to see, all right, so in Rails 5.1, you start supporting JavaScript as first class. So you can add Node, you see things like that. They get rid of jQuery. You just enter the new era when Rails doesn't come with jQuery anymore. So that's interesting. Cool. They change it from this. This is Rails 5.0. It's to this. Everything's written. The extra nice stuff that Rails does with JavaScript is now rewritten in JavaScript. It doesn't require jQuery anymore. We will use that for Ajax, remote true. If you use link to method delete, I think you use button to. Link to, it will convert the link into a form submission. That's also this Ajax, this JavaScript stuff. Okay, I think enough reviewing there. Let's drink water and we do the the home